Greetings, YouTube. Blue Lives Matter is bullshit. An excerpt from an article I will be linking to. This is worse than insult to injury. This is insult to death. More than 300 billboards around the country have been emblazoned with the Blue Lives Matter. This is some dystopian Orwellian shit. Now police are pissing on the graves of victims who died at their hands. This is a blatant hijacking of the Black Lives Matter campaign, total disrespect in an attempt to shift eyes from the Black Lives Matter movement. Fuck Blue Lives Matter and the racist-ass Lamar Advertising, headquarters in Louisiana, for this. It's clear police are trying to fuel the fires that they've started and escalate matters further, all while remaining the perpetrator and playing the victim, an all too familiar tactic nowadays. There's never been a point in American history where cops' lives were not considered to be of greater value than civilian lives. There are states in the United States where if a cop is killed while on duty, it is automatically considered a capital punishment case. We have never undervalued cops' lives. Even though as far as jobs in America is concerned, it doesn't even make the cut of the top 10 most dangerous positions to hold in America. It is more dangerous to be a roofer than a cop in America today. And in fact, at the moment, the police are enjoying the safest time period there has ever been for being a cop. Contrary to what some of the mainstream media will tell you, mostly Fox News, who have been pushing the narrative that there is a war on cops. There is no war on cops. People are not warring on cops. However, cops have been warring on civilians for decades, centuries. For as long as there have been cops, cops have preyed and warred upon civilians. Particularly if you are not a member of the majority and you are not a white, male, Christian, straight person. There was a time in America where you could be arrested if you were a woman in pants for an absurd angle. In fact, you had to actually have a minimum number of pieces of clothing that were appropriate to your gender to not be arrested. But nowadays, they've taken the shift from just persecuting the people that were wearing clothing outside their particular gender. Now they just gun down people in the street and get away with it. The only reason this is becoming more common now is because of social media and the ubiquitous nature of cameras. They are everywhere. And this time, they're not just in the hands of the authority figures. This time, they're in the hands of citizens. And the police really don't like that. They don't like the fact that we can watch them. As far as I'm concerned, when cops on duty, they have no privacy. Period. We should be wearing cameras that run 24/7 every second they are on the job. And this information should be going to a neutral third party. It should not be controlled by the citizens. It should not be controlled by the police. It should be controlled by another branch of the government. We need to make sure that everything the cops do is witnessed, because we know when you leave them in the dark, they do evil things. For example, trying to change the narrative of Black Lives Matter from anywhere else than making sure people pay attention that Black Lives Matter. They don't want us thinking about that. And for example, the phrase all lives matter didn't exist prior to Black Lives Matter. But again, in the past, no one ever questioned that white lives mattered. No one ever questioned that one. And of course, in America today, all lives matter only counts if you're not a refugee. If you're a refugee, oh, I'm sorry, you don't count. Or if you're a woman seeking to control her own body, no, I'm sorry, you don't count either. Those lives don't matter. All that matters are the people in power. And the people in power are made very nervous by the Black Lives Matter movement. And their stormtroopers, the police, are made very nervous by the Black Lives Matter movement. And so they're doing everything they can to keep people from looking at it. No. You have to be concerned about the police. There are fragile little angels. We have to protect them, as opposed to the stormtroopers that they are. I'd actually considered doing a video specifically about this topic, but I'm going to roll it into this one because it seems appropriate. There is no such thing as a good cop. How can I say that? Do I mean that there are no ethical, moral people on police forces? Well, no, I don't mean that. I believe that there are people who join the police forces with a clear need or desire to be ethical and moral and work for law enforcement. But the second they become the cop, they compromise themselves. Because the law enforcement in America is a broken system. And no matter how good you may be joining it, once you become a member of that broken system, you can't be a good cop. You're part of a broken system. And even if there are cops that commit no crimes against civilians, they're not rolling over on the ones that are. They're turning a blind eye. They're ignoring what's going on around them every single day. And we've had cops come forward and say, yeah, this happens all the time, and everybody just ignores it. Even if they're not part of the problem, they're not part of the solution. So until cops come forward and start disowning all the ones actually perpetrating the violence and oppression and racism and bigotry and homophobia against our citizenry, there is no such thing as a good cop. It's a harsh thing to say, but no less harsh than Blue Lives Matter is bullshit.